This is a video about two train stations in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the trains don't come anymore. But they're both attractive stations, and I've shot video of both of them. And I'll talk more about what could happen in the future at the end of this video. But the two stations are the Southern Railway Station and the Louisville and Nashville Station, which is now being used as a high school. And here's some more shots of the Southern Railway Station. It has had an area where you could drive underneath an overhead walkway that went from the street into the station, and you could also drive in, and if it was raining, people could get out and walk into the station at the lower level. And it's in the Dutch Revival style architecture. Actually, both stations have elements of that. And one thing you'll see in the background too are some new construction, residential construction. So if these stations ever came back to life and were used for train service, again, the people who live right across the street would have great access. This is what I'm talking about. Nice residential complex right across the street. And there's a lot of new construction going on in Knoxville. Everywhere you go, this is more closer to the University of Tennessee campus. And University of Tennessee's football stadium, which is huge, is right in the downtown, sort of between the campus and the downtown. So Knoxville has a lot going on. But let's look at the stations. There's the old train station. I wonder if they still have Amtrak service. Southern Railway. Looks open. I will check it out. We're here at the Southern Railway Station in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now Amtrak no longer stops here. And there's two stations here, but I wanted to take a look at it. Both stations are on the National Register of Historic Places, and this one is in the Dutch Revival style. You can tell by the stepped facade. Let's see if we can take a look inside. I think this is now being used as a special event space. See, it's on the National Register, built in 1903. Actually, I had it as being built over a long period of time. So here you can see it's beautiful with the light coming in through the yellow stained glass windows. And the staircase is down to the track level. I'm sure it's not open. And drop-off area. It's a big, huge station. I think it was used up until the 1980s. I've heard various styles being ascribed to what the station is. There are still freight trains that come through here. We saw one yesterday. It's just beautiful. I'm just trying to see how we can get down to the track level. You can see the old canopy there. I'm gonna have to walk down the street and in. Let's see if we can do that. There's some modern apartment buildings across the street. There's a lot of modern new construction in Knoxville. This is kind of in the Old Town area. One thing you notice from different points is there's a major highway, the Route 40, that goes east-west with constant traffic, so it kind of is noticeable. There's roads that go underneath it, but it's like typical of American cities where they feel like they've had to have highways that go right through a city. So you get more of a view of the station here. Beautiful. This is late October.
So the colors here have peaked already, we've noticed. We thought it might be a little bit later down here in the south, and it's crisp too. It's like in the high 40s. The weather feels like it's a lot like the Northeast, really. Maybe it gets hotter and more humid in the summer, but this is very comparable to the northeastern U.S. There's an old train there. All right, let me go down there and see if I can get a better look. And you can see a good portion of downtown Knoxville, which has a lot of interesting architecture and also new construction. And then the University of Tennessee is here too, right by the downtown. So I could have parked here. It says private property. So I parked on the street. So Amtrak does not stop in Knoxville. I was reading, the only city it stops at in Tennessee, the main large city, is Memphis, way on the western end of the state. And we're in the eastern end. Walk into the canopy here. Nice old caboose. The other station, which I'm going to try to get to, I took a picture of it from the street. I haven't figured out the street system, but that's the Louisville and Nashville station. So this is the Old Smoky Railway Museum. A Pullman car. And here's one of the old freight carts. I mean, they'll take your baggage to the train. Catching the station at a nice time with the sunlight on it in the morning. So they got tables set up like it could be an outdoor dining area. Big long train. I think they do have tourist trains. Maybe this is actually used for a tourist train certain times of the year. So there's different styles here. This is almost like, well, I've also heard this described as being Romanesque. So this would be a Romanesque arch here. The Southern Railway Station at Knoxville, Tennessee. Two-story buff brick station with its stepped gables. That's what I was referring to, the Dutch Revival style. Frank Milburn, opened in 1903. An impressive clock tower was removed in 1945. That's too bad. Passenger train service ended in 1970. That's the same year I think passenger service ended at one of the main stations of Pittsburgh. So 1970 was not a great year for passenger train service. Let's see if we can see more in here. We have a fireplace. This would be a nice event space. I don't know, maybe they have weddings here? Possibly. They have plenty of space. And this is another station building. If it was by itself, it would be an impressive station building in a lot of cities. Also that stepped gable style, very impressive. The Southern Railway Station here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Nice job. And there's also a winery here, Blue Slip Winery. I'm going to take a look at it. The other train station, old train station in Knoxville, And as you can tell by the young people walking this direction, they're going to the station. It's now a STEM high school. And I think it's pretty top ranked from what I was reading. So, must be when school is starting. Take a look at it when we get down there. It's right at the northern end of the old World's Fair site. World's Fair in Knoxville in the 1980s. Some of the students are going to this building here. There's the, I don't know what you call it, gold dome that was the symbol of the Knoxville World's Fair. I'm looking straight into the sun, so I'll try to get a picture of the station from the sun to my back. Here's a look down the World's Fair site, looking south, I believe. And this is back at the old Louisville and Nashville train station. And the tracks are over behind this building where it says STEM Academy. I think maybe that might be the train station, and then this was maybe an old hotel next to the train station. It's still part of the STEM Academy. Anyway, I can't take too much pictures here because it's students. So let me just walk over here. This is an interesting monument. Can't help but notice freedom from fear. Interesting. So there's the train tracks over there. I don't know if there's still freight service on that line. So they now call this World's Fair Park. A lot going on here. So we walked in through the back of it, I guess. It's the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial. Something. Alright, let me see if I can see anything from the other side of the station. So a lot must have changed since this was a station. Because there's a track over there, but I have a feeling there were more tracks closer to the station, right where we're walking. So, that's the Louisville and Nashville train station.
So those were the two stations that are in Knoxville, and I want to delve into a little bit further that Knoxville could play a key role in bringing back train service, not only to Knoxville itself, but also to Tennessee, Kentucky. As you can see on this map, there's a large area. This is a map of Amtrak routes that are currently in existence in 2023. And this is where Knoxville is located, right in the middle of this huge area where there are no train lines. The green lines you'll see here are bus lines that are run by Amtrak, but the trains used to go where the green lines were, but now it's been substituted with bus service. And Knoxville can play a key role with sort of what I regard as its sister city on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains, which is Asheville, North Carolina, another city that is not served by Amtrak. But as you can see, North Carolina has several lines that run through it. So a lot of cities in North Carolina do have train service. But Asheville is really growing, and when we were there, there was a huge highway project going on to expand the width of the highway. But that says also that due to the congestion problems, it could also use rail service. And I know it's not easy to reinstitute passenger service anywhere, but especially through the mountains. But I think it's something we should think about if it doesn't happen in this generation, maybe in the next generation, where we will start building out the national rail network and having more comprehensive service rather than solitary lines that just skirt the edges of states or completely don't go through states. So Asheville and Knoxville are both run by progressive female mayors. And it gives you hope. It's a long-term thing to have rail service, but if you have mayors like this and in the future other progressive type mayors, it could happen. And this is a picture of what Asheville's train station used to be back in the day. A lot of train stations were built in the early 1900s, and the one in Asheville no longer exists, but it looked really interesting. It's just a very blurry picture from way back when, but it can help you imagine what train service could be. And it's not like this area of the country has not had a rich rail history. I mean, there was the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. Louisville and Nashville are two cities that Amtrak doesn't go to anymore. And then there's the Southern Rail system that's now part of the Norfolk and Southern Railway. And it had a lot of lines in the Tennessee area and in western North Carolina, not to mention Kentucky. So there's a lot of history to build on, and I'll talk about that more in an upcoming video where I'll focus on the states of Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana as places that could really use an improvement in Amtrak service. And this is the area we're talking about. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing these beautiful old stations. It'd be great to see them come back to life here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Thanks for watching.